Okay, let's talk about Timmy in this CNN interview that went crazy.
God bless, dude, Timmy.
Yeah, he was cooking.
Did you guys watch the interview?
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's great. He's great. I thought he handled it really well. These are my least favorite type of interviews.
Yeah.
Where there's a lack of curiosity. I don't like this style of interviewing, which comes off as, again, I can't say like what this person's goal was, but like this style of interviews that I think were popularized, they've been around for a while, don't get me wrong, but where it's like, this is how I feel about the world. And I'm going to ask you questions that will confirm my belief about the world. Instead of, this is how I feel about the world. Am I off for thinking about this? I'm around somebody who like has in-depth knowledge about this stuff. Tell me if maybe I'm wrong, and maybe tell me if I should change my opinion on it. So it's a lack of curiosity. And I think that one of the great things about Joe and one of the great things about podcasting in general is when you kind of decentralize media is you can be curious. You can ask. You can find shit out. Oh, this person thinks the pyramids were built by aliens. Oh, tell me why you think that. This person doesn't think it. He just had the other guy on, the guy from Egypt tell me why it isn't the case, right? And it's like, and I didn't watch that whole interview. Maybe there's ways that he's giving pushback. But this idea of true curiosity, and I think that's why people tend to move away from traditional media because it didn't feel curious. It felt, this is my opinion on this topic, which just so happens to mirror the opinion of the viewers of the network. And I'm going to bring you on here to either get you to agree with me or humiliate you for not agreeing with me. And Tim is so savvy, he found a way to jujitsu his way out of it and kind of expose the interviewer. But I think this is one of the things that like people as a whole have been rejecting from traditional media. Is a lack of genuine curiosity and it's almost like the interviewer is telling you what you are.
I want to give a little pushback.
Please.
I think there's the place for both of the styles of interviews.
Yeah.
Like I like the way Rogan does, because his is like, he's curious. But like if you go with a journalist who's done their research, if it feels genuine, as long as they're not just like trying to have a moment, like if that's what her views are, and maybe most of the people who watch this channel, they share similar views, I think it's actually good to have the interview from that point of view and then have the person there who can rebut it. It means more. Like I watched that interview, I was like, oh wow, this is good, because this girl went in a little bit narrow-minded and Tim was able to like,
that's a great point,
debunk all those things.
I completely agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. In my point, it's like, if you already feel a way about the world and you don't want to change that feeling, then why are you asking somebody to come on your show? If that person was asking to come on your show so they can shine light on this topic that you may feel differently about, that's a different thing. But if you're requesting an interview with somebody just to prove how you already feel about something, the lack of curiosity, I think, creates this like, animosity, too strong a word, but almost like for the audience, like I almost kind of want to reject it. Yeah. Like her first question I thought was really disrespectful. The opening question was, so you just had a comedy special come out. Do you want to talk about it? Yeah, I think on the press run for the comedy special that I just released, I would like to talk about it. That's why I'm here. And then it's like, she goes, okay, give me the short for it. Give me the short of what your special is.
Yeah.
Did you not watch the special? Like, like to me, it's like a disrespect.
Like, let's get this out the way so I can get to what
or do the bare minimum of research of who that person is and why you want to talk to them.
I definitely understand, and I would have taken it that way. Yeah. I thought what made Tim so effective is he didn't take anything that way.
Personally, and he did a great job.
To Alex's point, that does give you the opportunity, if you are an adept speaker, especially in that kind of environment, a person who wants to side with her might be like, this guy's actually making a lot of really good fucking
and I think
he ran circles around it.
I think what, to Al's point, it's like, it's great for the viewers, not necessarily maybe her viewers that want to see her opinion, which is also their opinion confirmed, which I think is like an issue with legacy media. It's an issue with like journalism in a lot of ways in terms of like print journalism. It's just like, this is the perspective from this magazine, and we are just going to project that perspective on every different story that we tell. And there's something boring about that. It's like, it's expected. Like, and that's kind of what I didn't like about it. But seeing somebody that's as adept as Tim at like navigating that type of journalism, like he's experienced a lot of it. He's probably watched a lot of it. He also knows comedy way better than she knows comedy. That's not her field of expertise. He was able to expose her tactics. And I think what ended up going viral was the exposing of her tactics. You know, her coming in with this idea that there's like no liberal comedian. It's like, they are all liberal. Like every single one of them is liberal. Like the majority, the vast majority are.
Were they planning on putting the entire interview out in its entirety?
I don't.
No, apparently she asked for that. She wanted that, which is a testament to her. Good
Tim
for her.
did too.
No, I thought.
I think he forced their hand.
Yeah, I thought they were going to put out an edited version, and Tim was upset.
He went on Rogan and he was like, put the whole thing out.
Yeah.
I think he forced their hand, and then if they didn't, they look fraudulent.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it could be very easy to edit it, chop it up. And
My understanding was she asked for it, so maybe I got that wrong. But I also, the best moment in this clip that went viral is when, I don't know if we want to play it or not, but when he names the left of center comedians, and then he goes, Louis C.K., and she goes, and he goes, why? Because he's an imperfect person?
Yeah.
And that is like, oh, that is the entire liberal problem.
he's a weird freak, but he's liberal.
Exactly. That is 1,000%.
And that's okay.
Want the
And
weird
we're not
freak
going to
vote?
punish him for the rest of his life
Yeah.
because he's into some weird freak shit.
Yeah. But do you want that vote or not? Or you can't vote for me?
And if
that's why y'all lose.
Exactly. If nobody's, this is a greater discussion. We could even get into like a response from some of our recent interviews, Bernie and Pete. But yeah, I'm curious your guys' take on the Tim interview.
I thought her tactic, the Steel Man and like in good faith, she kind of was just sort of like asking probing questions, had her own agenda. But I also wonder if there's like a style where she comes in so underspoken, like so soft, kind of like leading questions, but not really like staking her position, trying to get him to say something kind of inflammatory or like a soundbite.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't supposed to go out in its entirety, I feel like that was kind of the strategy. It's like,
and then you can edit however you want.
like, do you think that there's right-wing comedians?
Yeah.
And then do you think there's a lot of right-wing comedians in Texas? And like slowly kind of getting it deeper and deeper.
like nudging you in a direction that she wants you to be already.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, an unfair way of having an open conversation with somebody.
But no disrespect, is that anything different than what Club Shay Shay does? And that of
Well, what I would do is call Club Shay Shay a gotcha show.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I've said it here.
I think it's a little different because it seems like Shannon will just be like, so here's a huge controversy you're in. What do you think about it? And he'll just sort of just put it out and then you can deal
That's
with
fair.
it anyway.
Shannon really don't even
Shannon
know.
don't know the fuck
You
is
don't
going
even know
on,
what's
dude.
going on.
So it's just like, you got caught up in this shit. What's your response?
The fact that he played football for as long as he did and can form full sentences with his brain is a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
But with this lady, it seems like there was a lot of stuff she didn't know. Like she was making assumptions, and then Tim was like, "No, what are you talking about?"
Which is the goes to the point that I'm making, which is like you're coming with assumptions when if there was genuine curiosity and like a good faith conversation, you would just come in not knowing and asking those questions. Like
I noticed a moment where she was like, I've been researching stand-up comedy. Right away, I'm like, all right, well, then you don't research. You don't know. You didn't know it coming in. What did you research? And then when I heard the question she was asking, I was like, I don't think you really did any research. I think you talked to a few comedians that you know or people who dabbled in comedy. And these guys don't know, dude, there's if you ask people who stand-up comics are, they don't often know the people that we think they would know.
also there was a point where I think she was basically trying to get at which like is the mothership a right-wing comedy club or something like that.
That's what
was
she
like,
wanted Tim to say. She wanted to get that out of him, to say like there's a Republican agenda within the podcast establishment at these comedy clubs that pushes this type of rhetoric.
Yeah, and it's just not the case. Now, here's the thing that is true without a doubt is that things trend and comedians gravitate, just like any other person in life, towards their salvation, right? So like crowd work becomes popular. All these comedians just start doing crowd work, right? YouTube specials become popular. All these comedians posting clips become popular. Everybody does it. There is a time right now where like some of the comedians that are seen now as like edgy and dark were doing PG material trying to get on Comedy Central. So now they're kind of edgy dark because that's maybe allowed. Maybe that was always who they were and they just couldn't find success in that because Comedy Central had a stranglehold on like what comedy was. But comedians do gravitate towards what they believe will be successful. There is no top-down influence in the mothership like Joe going, you have to do jokes about this. But there are surely young comedians that think, oh, maybe the way I get on is if I say these things that I hear the popular people in this scene doing. But there's never any, like, Joe likes weirdos. Joe likes misfits. He likes, if you knew Joe's friend group outside of comedy, they're like the most peculiar, like, pool sharks and just random people you'll bump into. He just likes, so there's no pressure ever. But I think that's kind of like what she wanted him to say. But to say that there aren't like trends in certain things, like the alt scene in New York had a specific style of comedy that everybody adopted. Like early, when I was coming up in comedy, and you know, Dave Attell, who's always been like the fixture at the Comedy Cellar, every comedian was doing a Dave Attell impression. And they'll admit this themselves. Like all their act out sounded like Attell, their voices sounded like Attell, their rhythm sounded like Attell. He was so influential that it just kind of trickled down. So there's no question whether that influence exists. But is there like an active push to make people do that? Absolutely not. It's more like, how do I succeed within this system?
And to give her a little grace, maybe she just heard like what you said, and now it's like, oh, I'm assuming that people are being told to, this is the comedy we perform here because I hear that a lot of the young comics who perform here.
She hears a bitter comic who isn't passed at the mothership that says something like, oh, you got to be fucking right wing to get up there. And it's just like, no, you just didn't get passed, and you're trying to find a way to justify you not getting passed outside of you not being funny. But you aren't funny. And there's a lot of people who aren't funny that don't want to just go, maybe I need to get better. Okay, because there's no liberal comedians not allowed at the mothership at all. Like, this doesn't even exist. There are unfunny people that aren't allowed there. Absolutely. There are unfunny conservatives and unfunny leftists.
I think she's a political, I don't know this. My feel from the interview is she's like a politically minded person who heard that there is a right-wing podcast faction, and that's why Trump got elected, and we need to go see what's going on with it.